Welcome to Colquitz River Park. This park doesn't even get a mention on Google Maps, but it's a lovely little gem, with gnarly, chaotic willows overhanging a dark, slow-moving stream. I was struck by this scene while walking through here one evening just after sunset, and I decided that I had to paint it. I love this little park. It's the kind of place where people pass by every day for years and don't even know it's here. I don't think many people who come into the park even come down off the trail. It's pretty wild looking, and you have to search to find the small paths down, but they're there. This is the spot where I decided to set up today. I love how the warm glow of the sky backlights these thorns against the rough texture of the willow tree. It's a really lovely place to paint. Coming down into the thorns under the hanging willow branches is like entering an alternate reality. Here's the gear that I've brought out with me today. I don't need a chair or umbrella, so it's a pretty light trip. I have a bag that has an assortment of panel sizes in it, as well as my tripod easel, and I have my bag that contains my paints, palettes, brushes, and an assortment of things that I need while I'm out painting. This is where I decided to stop the drawing. It's a bit more detailed than a lot of my plein air drawings because I wanted to capture some of the personality of this old willow. These trees always take longer than I expect, and I'm pretty sure I'm in for a multiple day painting. The light changes so quickly at this time of day that I don't really have a whole lot of working time. On my palette, I have a light blue mixture that is titanium white mixed with a little touch of Prussian blue, Portland gray. I have my mucky gray. I'll leave a link at the end of the video on how to make my mucky gray. Transparent iron oxide, which I didn't end up really using. Yellow ochre, halo golden green, azo green, ivory black, Grumbacher permanent green, Prussian blue, ultramarine blue, iron violet, burnt sienna, alizarin crimson, quinacridone violet, cadmium red medium, cadmium orange medium, cadmium yellow light, and 3 piles of titanium white. I have 3 because I'm going to be mixing warm and cool light colors for the sky and background, so I don't want little streaks of unwanted colors mixed up with my lights. There are a few other colors on this palette, but they're dry and I didn't use them. Now this is the time of the evening where I first saw this scene, and this is what really drew me in, so it doesn't last for very long. I'm really gonna try to get some of these tones in before that sun hides away. If you wipe the edges of your panel before you pack up the canvas, it will help you to not get wet paint all over yourself and your things. It's day 2 and I'm back at my location, and hopefully we're gonna finish this today. Let's get to work. I'm really excited for the sun to come down and land in the spot, because I'd like to get that in today. There's a spider on my palette already. So I'm not going to be putting anything special on this. It's actually still wet. The solvent has evaporated because I was working really thinly and very leanly, so I wasn't adding extra oil. I added a little bit of medium to do the initial wash in, but it's still a very lean surface. And now I'm going to be going in with some walnut oil in my paint when I need it, just to fatten it up and help the paint glide over the surface if necessary. been chasing around all the changing light, but I think I like it's exactly 8 o'clock and the sun goes down a little bit past all the trees, and then there's this, oh, some birds. Looks like the owl's coming to roost for the night. I don't know if you can see him. I've really changed what's going on in this painting a lot, and I think I prefer this time of day. I like the cool shadows. Earlier on there was a lot going on, which is really pretty, but I sort of like this muted palette with the bright sky behind. Day 3. What can I say? I have been poking around at this and basically completely changing my mind about the lighting. I have been coming a little bit later so that I can sort of catch that the sun has just gone down lighting, because I find that the prettiest. Right now the background is really busy, and so I was hoping to get a less chaotic looking background, but it's kind of hard with so much going on around here. But I really like the pink sky that comes around 8 o'clock, so it doesn't give me a whole lot of working time, hence you gotta come back, so that's just the way it is. It's a beautiful night in the park though, so what better place to be? I did some pre-mixing this time, just because I'm working within a limited time range, so I pre-mixed some of these really delicate pinks for the sky because they're easily muddied up with the rest of the colors, and also a dark base for my tree. By day 3, I had decided on the more even light of sundown. Those constantly changing greens and yellows of the sun setting were exhausting me. Plus, I love the warm, saturated greens and cool silvery highlights that this lighting gives the tree bark at this time of day. There's so much going on. The biggest struggle was to simplify the shapes and colors while still capturing the mood of the scene. I find a lot of the beauty of these interior tree and forest scenes relies on all those little branches and detail, so you can only simplify them to a certain degree before you lose that ethereal magic of the scene, that lacy quality of the branches that is often the thing that draws you to it in the first place. So it just takes time. is getting dark, like quite dark, and I'm gonna have to shut it down. We're starting to get somewhere on this one. I might be looking at day 4. I am in the studio this morning. I had been working on this basically until it got dark last night. So I'm going to be doing my touch-ups that I ordinarily would have done on location here before my paint dries. I won't be able to get back until the paint has already dried, so I have to make sure that I'm not leaving hard edges or anything that's going to impede my next layer on this canvas while it dries. So one thing that I like to do while the paint is wet is just take a bamboo barbecue skewer and I just scratch in some detail. Scratching in paint is a big part of my process, especially wet on wet techniques done plein air. Another thing I will be doing is just gently removing these could possibly be insects or just like bits of brush and dried paint. I'm just going to be gently removing some of these things before they dry into the paint. Painting on location is already a challenge, but I probably spend at least half the time that I'm out there just setting up cameras and, getting scenery shots, fiddling around with the camera in some way or another. So it definitely adds quite a bit of time to the plein air painting process. I love working on location though. It's such a rewarding experience, and it's also very rewarding to be able to share it. It adds a whole other element to going out and painting because I realize not everybody can get out and paint, and they might be curious about the process or just enjoy watching someone else do it. So yeah, why not put it out there? And plus it's a new challenge. Filming and editing has been a really welcome challenge for me. I enjoy doing it. It gives me an added sense of purpose when I go out and paint. So yeah, it's definitely worth the effort. I've just switched the angles because I'm left-handed and I realize a lot of times it's more convenient for my camera to be over here. You can also block the view of the camera. I'll work at it from this way so that you can see my scratches if you can. I know this lighting situation's not ideal. So I'm not working from a photo or anything. I still have like the mental image strong in my head from last night. Like I've been staring at this scene for a couple hours and trying to paint it. So I'm really working from a combination of memory and just like what I think looks good. This is actually like a process within itself of relying on your memory and your own studies to make a painting. And the thing I like about that is very much you put so much of yourself into it. it's really a product of your own mind at this point and your own experience. And that could be a really beautiful method of working. It's such a rewarding mental exercise to go work outside while you're painting. And I feel like it takes your skills to new levels. It is the best way to learn how to paint. If you want to stretch your skills and learn, go plein air paint. You will grow by miles that you just wouldn't sitting inside with a photograph. And I believe that about working from life, even if it's a still life, and especially flowers. Flowers are often changing and moving while you're working, so you have to think on your feet and make a plan, be prepared, think ahead, and also sit back and learn from your mistakes and figure out what could be done better next time. It's a great experience. It's a great experience in so many ways. I couldn't imagine just being in the studio, being a studio painter. I don't think I'd be happy that way. I think I remember the first time I ever plein air painted. I was in my early 20s and I went out and tried it for the first time, and what came out was so different from what I did in the studio. It was so different. It didn't even look like it was done by the same person, and the colors were so different, and it was almost impressionistic, and I just loved making the brushstrokes and just like getting it done so quickly, and I felt like it just felt like some sort of painting catharsis. It was so invigorating. I didn't have many opportunities to paint until I got a bit older, and I had a car so I could get around, and yeah, it kind of became an addiction. I am in love with it. I'm in love with the process. Yeah, I truly hope that you enjoy watching these videos and maybe you learn something from my processes and mistakes, and it helps you develop and grow as an artist, because you just never know where you're going to pick something new up. It's the wonderful thing about art is you will never master it and you'll never conquer it. And there we go. With a couple of scratches, you can get in that hairpoint detail that you want and add texture. And that's what I love so much about scratching. And I do prefer to do it on location because you're getting very first-hand experience. But this works as well, where you've taken a subject and you've used it for inspiration, and you've come back and made it into that compilation of your observations and your skill and your imagination and memory, and that's what makes it art. I am back for night number 4, and that's okay. That's okay. It's taking me a lot longer to make this one than I was expecting, but I think today will go well because it's actually slightly overcast, and so I'm not dealing with a lot of changing light right now. I may have to fake my sky, but I'm mostly here for the foreground. So I'm going to be oiling in and then working over top of the dried paint. It's been a few days, so it's nice and dry now. And let's get started. I decided to brighten the sky and darken the background with a cool green. The bright yellow-green was a hangover from my previous lighting situation, and it needed to be cooled and darkened a bit. I added a bit of blue and black to my green mixture to darken it. The wind is blowing my models away. Well, that's it. It did take a lot longer than I was expecting. In the end, that doesn't really matter. I completed it. I'm fairly happy with it. And who knows, I might turn this one into a larger painting. But yeah, the light is fading fast, and I am going to get packed up. Thank you so much for joining me for another painting.